Hello, this is Matthew Geske. I wanted to talk a little bit about addictions, about compulsive behaviors, what's going on there, and uh, the unintended consequences of that, and how counseling can help. So, the human spirit, the human is to be built to be free and responsible. Too much freedom without any responsibility is destructive. If you're overly responsible, you're no fun, and you're not free. So they live in balance. When that balance gets out of whack, we often see people with addictions. We see them with compulsive behaviors that they become slaves to and are no longer free. Addictions can take the form of substance abuse, alcohol, opiate abuse now is one that we're seeing a lot of as the pharmaceutical companies cranking out millions and millions of pills. So those are addictions. Compulsive behaviors fall more in the category of things like gambling, shopping, pornography, sexual activities that a person feels compelled to do, even though they may be destructive or harm themselves or other people. The internet is one that we're seeing now, where people are spending all their time and not developing individual relationships because they're spending all their time on the internet. So these are all compulsive behaviors. So none of us starts out and say, hey, I want to get addicted to this drug, or I want to, spend all my time on the internet and not have any relationships. So what happens? The behavior, the addiction, takes on significant meaning in a person's life. It's like a relationship. It becomes a source of fulfillment, a source of reward, creates a sense of well-being and peace, at least at the beginning. It's a stress reliever. So these are all things that, boy, we like, right? So originally, maybe a helpful thing, maybe get us through a rough time with a relationship or change or so forth. But then when it becomes become dependent on it, then it becomes a negative, because we start taking away resources, time from people, maybe our work, though that usually takes quite a long time before we see that. But definitely in our relationships, hobbies, in involvement in community, in people's lives, family, and so forth, those all start to take a negative turn when we see addictions and compulsive behaviors. So, how can counseling be a help to that? Well, the intentions that we had when we started our behaviors that led to problems were good. We want to feel good, we want a sense of well-being, we want to feel fulfilled. So trying to figure out how to get back to those things and see if there's an alternative way to get those needs met without using the compulsive behavior. It's going to be very hard to give up something until we have something to replace it with. So that's why just willpower or forcing somebody to stop something is notoriously ineffective. Forcing somebody to get in treatment or threatening to do something if they don't stop is maybe a temporary fix, but does not work in the long run, because we have these needs, we have these desires as humans, and we're going to try to find those, get those met in some way. It can feel like a life or death matter for that. So even though it's causing enormous difficulties, if we see no alternative we're going to go back to what's comfortable and familiar. So trying to identify what needs are trying to be met by that behavior, and then to explore if what's blocking healthier ways to get those needs met. The basis of a sense of well-being is to have healthy relationships with others, to have a sense of healthy relationship with our higher power, with God. And if there's a break in that, then that's where addictions just love to flourish. So counseling can help by going back and seeing, hey, what happened here? Can we reform relationships? Can we find more meaningful relationships so that we no longer have to rely on destructive habits that we've got ourselves into? Many times addictions or compulsive behaviors can be tied back to trauma, either directly or indirectly, that hasn't been resolved. And so if the trauma can be identified, worked through, then the power of the addiction is going to be lessened. The addictions can still take time to overcome, and you may need assistance. If you do a behavior long enough, it becomes kind of ingrained in your brain. Especially with substances, your brain becomes used to that stimulus, that release, and it's going to take some withdrawal, some holistic approach, so that your brain can get readjusted and find an equilibrium, so that you can use relationships and healthy activities as a way of getting those needs met that addiction had filled. So I hope that's helpful. Individual counseling can be effective method of treatment. I see that most effective is when people recognize that there's a problem early on, before it's gone on for years and years and they've lost everything. Maybe others have expressed concern about your behavior. It's causing fights, or it's causing concern on your part that you're not quite the same person that you were, that you're doing things that go against your values. Those are the opportunities that we have to seek out help, and individual counseling can be very effective in that. Confidential, it's very personal, and it's a way of not going down that path so far that you're in need of more intensive treatment. So that's a little bit about addictions and compulsive behaviors. Thank you for your time.